Classic and unforgettable film titles. We have the obvious ones, the ones that are brief without compromising its appeal. Vertigo, Kill Bill, Spirited Away, Seven Samurai. These film titles cut straight to the point, while still effectively conveying the film's genre, theme, or overall tone. These shorter titles have an easier time establishing itself into the cultural zeitgeist, becoming instantly recognizable, even to people who haven't seen the film or read the book. I will be including book titles. Hello, Stephen King. So, more generally, what makes a good film title? There's a lot of answers. For one, there are titles that use the lexicon of a particular era or a specific community to resonate with its target audience. Film titles that reference familiar expressions or phrases develop an immediate point of connection with viewers. The plot of Get Out alone is a signal to Black viewers that nobody Black should be in that situation. The title is not only a meta-nod to Black horror viewers who are known to plead with characters to escape life-threatening situations, but also serves to reference the film's themes related to appropriating and invading Black bodies, Chris's escape of the sunken place, and explores the long-standing fears of Black men surrounding interracial relationships. Ironically, the title Mean Girls couldn't be more vague. But the story consciously enhances this one-dimensional archetype of the mean girl to explore how that stock image is far more complicated than just the traditional popular bully. And as a result, this relatively basic and straightforward title comes to represent a lot more than we originally assumed. Kind of like a mean girl. Aww. These film titles automatically assume your familiarity with the subject material and any connotation that's related to it, allowing filmmakers to use this shared understanding of language to either challenge or reference recognizable themes of everyday life. Separate from titles that rely on the lexicon of a particular community or era, we have titles that evoke immediate intrigue. Whether it's due to some storybook quality, or because it sparks a sense of wonder or fear, there are just some titles that make you want to hear more. I think of Close Encounters of the Third Kind or Enter the Void as examples that captivate you and serve as an early sign that what you're about to watch is an experience. These titles invite you to learn more and play on the appeal of the unknown just from the title alone. A Nightmare on Elm Street is a huge one for me, obviously. It's the title that made me make this video. Granted, for years, I have been gushing over how good that title is, but today is the day we talk about it. As a writer, it's so satisfying to see a film cover this much ground in the title alone. The name preserves intrigue by meeting the audience at surface level. It purely reflects what's going on in the story at face value. There are nightmares. Where are they happening? On Elm Street. The title alone is the pitch. It sparks your curiosity, but still leaves so much to learn by watching the film. The title is formatted to have a sort of storybook quality and cadence to it, similar to Once Upon a Time, but it still leans into those horror, fantastical elements. From the title, at no point can you guess that there is a man that comes from the dream world to haunt kids and kill them for revenge. That is news to anybody that has not already seen the movie. And news to you if you haven't seen it, this video definitely has spoilers. I'm so sorry. The title preserves so much of the allure of the film, but still conveys its tone in a totally distinct and unique way. It's genuinely one of the greatest film titles of all time. It's one of the greatest things to be named ever. It's ridiculous. Some of my other favorites in this category of great film titles that evoke intrigue is really just my horror preference showing. Let the Right One In, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, This House Has People in It. I love this title because if you've seen the movie, you know that that house does in fact have people literally falling through the floors, making them not just in the house, but in the house. But I mostly love that the odd phrasing of "this house has people in it" kind of clues you in to the uncanny elements of the film. The title is a conversational direct address, as if an unknown person is warning you about this house and what has happened to the people who lived in it. The title definitely suits the tone of the film, and it definitely got a second glance from me when I first heard about it. When a Stranger Calls is another favorite of mine. It immediately establishes the central issue and presents a danger that anyone can recognize. If there's more that happens after a stranger calls and it's not immediately apologizing and never hearing from them again, we have an issue, and that issue is a 90-minute horror movie. Another category of great film titles are ones that draw from pop culture while also adding a creative twist. Film titles like Don't Be a Menace to South Central While Drinking Your Juice in the Hood or Shaun of the Dead creatively flip existing titles as a nod to their inspiration while also inviting viewers into the new context of their film. I also like these film titles specifically because using pop culture and adding a twist to it can be insight into the filmmaker's perspective. Where some film titles purely describe what's happening, the creative twist title aspires to capture more than just its subject. It wants to use your knowledge of existing media or culture as a framework to then recontextualize, parody, or enhance the subject it's referencing. Titles like these add to our understanding of the original inspiration, but also allows the reference to take on a whole new meaning, and sometimes completely subverting our expectations. Another element of what makes a great film title is its lasting impact on the culture. There are countless films that, as a direct result of its success, introduces new vocabulary to pop culture, creating a concept or a term that didn't exist prior to its popularity. The term Pulp Fiction was originally a nod to a cheap, lowbrow fiction genre popular in the mid-20th century, but now is recontextualized to be shorthand for obnoxious and pretentious film bros. The Matrix, I think, now represents way more than just a sci-fi movie 20 years after the film's initial success. Today, in 2025, you cannot go on any kind of open forum social media site without someone referencing blue pill, red pill, or debating whether we're in the Matrix or at risk of being in the Matrix. Or asking, when was the first time you noticed we were in the Matrix? Never. I'm still waiting. It's become shorthand to discuss topics related to reality, conformity, and whether or not we practice our true freedoms. These are great titles because their impact extends beyond the work that originated them and have successfully permeated into everyday life, for better or for worse. We can get into the weeds about what makes a great film title, but let's be real, some just sound cool. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, Paris, Texas, The Phantom Menace. Let's be honest, he wasn't much of a phantom considering he was just wearing a hood and hiding in plain sight. But sure, The Phantom Menace. I will say, I like the theory that this title, The Phantom Menace, could also be referring to Anakin as that Phantom Menace. Because honestly, the story is so much more his story than Palpatine's, but I don't know, maybe that's like the Phantom part, like you don't really notice him, I guess. It's not super clear that Palpatine is a threat yet, but I think this title makes so much more sense when you apply it to young Anakin, who will then go on to become the main antagonist of the original trilogy with Darth Sidious. This is besides the point of anything in this video. There are some titles that just sound good, or sound horrible, but then totally make sense after you watch the movie. There were literal prisoners. Almost everyone in that movie is a prisoner at one point in the film, spoilers, and they were prisoners to their grief. I know. I get it now. I used to hate that title. I heard so much about that movie and I kind of didn't want to watch it because I was like, this title's not trying. This title doesn't want me to watch it. Prisoners? Captives? What does this mean to me? It means nothing. I'm so sorry. Prisoners? Prisoners. I get it now. Paul Dano cannot catch a break. Clearly, I have spent a lot of time thinking about film titles, their viability, and what makes them work. Titles are often the first impression you have of a film, and then serves to represent and encapsulate all of the film's themes in a succinct and memorable way. So much PR is being done in the title alone, and a good film title can truly be the testament to whether or not a filmmaker understands their own story. Also, a last addition to the great film titles list, I don't care if you don't like it, Wicked for good. Okay, let's get into it. Elphaba's journey, how from this point on, she will be known as the Wicked Witch of the West for the rest of her life. She is wicked for good. Let's get this out of the way. Also, For Good is obviously one of the most popular songs in the second act of the play that I actually don't care for too much, but I prefer the film. Actually, that's not true. Don't listen. Ooh, I'm not saying anything. Anyways, For Good, it's about Glinda and Elphaba both talking about because they knew each other, because they loved each other, they are irrevocably, irreversibly changed for good. There's also Wicked for Good, possibly, that Elphaba has been known as wicked for good reasons. Maybe a little bit of she's wicked for good causes. You know, like she's trying to give freedom of speech back to the animals. She's wicked for good. I get you. And I had an idea the other day I didn't write down, so now that's lost to the ether. I'm sorry. I'm still working on a history of Japanese horror video that will go with my existing series related to how social conditions and politics from previous decades basically help subgenres of horror to form. So if you're interested in a little history, politics, social politics lesson through the lens of horror films, you should watch that. Those are some of my favorite videos that I've made, so I'd love for anyone watching this to go watch that if you enjoyed this. I'm very excited for Wicked 2. I hope you could tell Wicked for Good, my bad. See you next time.